The following is a presentation of Project Independence and WCWP. Project Independence is the Aging in Place initiative of the town of North Hempstead.
Welcome to Project Independence and You.
Good morning and welcome to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio. I'm your host and producer, Kristina Liu, along with my co-host today, Otto Lowe's. Otto, friend, volunteer, supporter, really just the team of PI, right? You're the face of PI, I really should say. But Otto, we have a very important topic that we've certainly touched upon here, and it's all about loneliness and social isolation. And this is something that certainly affects people of all ages, but especially in the population that we, mostly service with the older adults and caregivers, and just these struggles of mental health. And it's such an important topic. And I'm so glad today we are joined by Liz Hildebrandt, who is the executive director of NAMIQN Nassau, and Lee Israel, who's the second VP and a board member as well. And so I'm hoping you guys can give us all the tips and wonderful programs that you offer to kind of combat loneliness and social isolation. So thank you.
You're welcome. So wonderful to be here.
Now, you're connected with NAMI as an organization. Mm-hmm. Maybe just give us kind of
what is NAMI? Start from the basics, right?
Yeah. Right. So NAMI, National Alliance of Mental Illness, it's been around for over 40 years. We're across the United States of America, 600 plus affiliates, one of which we are. We've been in here for 40 plus years in Queens and Nassau. And we educate, advocate, and support those with mental health disorders and their loved ones. And that means everything from advocating in Albany, local legislators, DC, to teaching people how to advocate for their loved one, whether it be a child, an adult, or a senior, and what that means, as well as educating them on all the different protocols, from medications to what you can expect in care, and how we can help you. We provide free support groups. And why free? Because National Alliance of Mental Illness wants to make sure there is no such thing as barrier to care, that everybody who is struggling with a mental health disorder of whatever kind understands their journey and that they feel supported in that journey. So our classes, one of which Lee is an instructor also, she does many things, is a family-to-family class. So it's an 8-week class, psychoeducational class, where you learn all about the illnesses and, again, how to advocate for your loved one. We have free support groups. Pretty much every night of the week, we have something for either somebody who has a mental health disorder, a caregiver, and we've recently, again, Lee's group on Sunday nights is really embracing caregivers of seniors, as well as just sort of opening up that net, as Lee brought this up about a year and a half ago, Lee, when we really tried to focus on this as an affiliate, because it was historically been a gap in what NAMI has focused on, which is that is seniors and their plight and the caregiver of seniors. So what did I leave out, Lee?
Not much.
So these support groups you have, are they in person? Are they virtual? Or are they in different locations?
They are both. So we have groups, traditional support group at UUC, the Unitarian Church on Shelter Rock Road. Is very kind to us, tremendous supporter of NAMIQN Nassau. And so we host in-person groups there. We host our family-to-family classes there. Of course, as a result of the pandemic, a lot is remained virtual. And for example, in Lee's support group, where is Sue from? Michigan or Minnesota?
Oh, wow.
Yes, she found us during COVID.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
exactly.
she's been with us.
Oh, that's lovely. See, but that's what we always say. That's like one of these silver linings that came out of COVID. We always talk about on the show.
Thank goodness there were a lot of silver linings.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have our in-person support every single Monday night. We have a socialization group at Zucker Hillside Hospital and Sloman Auditorium for those who have a mental health disorder. And it's a wonderful group. Lee's been a big part of that too. Where we do everything from karaoke to arts and crafts to just playing games to just, it's a social hour and it's an open opportunity. There's no insurance card. You just email us, kind of register, let us know who you are, and and you're invited. So so it's a mix. It's a mix of in-person. There used to be only in-person, of course.
Right. But, we found that, too. Some of our programs, too, actually kept, the virtual component because it was convenient for a lot of people, especially seniors, they may not be driving. Transportation's an issue, so you're able to kind of stay connected, and that's certainly a lovely.
Mental health is like a big word or two words.
True.
It covers a lot of stuff, and most families probably have had some mental health issues going on, and maybe it wasn't really defined as mental health, and it could be through, I can just visualize all kinds of problems, some of which are much deeper and heavier to handle. And I think the big thing is to have a place to go where you can talk about it and maybe somebody understands what you're going through or the person who you are concerned about is going through. So I think resources like yours are invaluable because where do you go? Years ago you would go to Yellow Pages and look up mental health.
Right.
Good luck with that.
Exactly.
And it's not too far from that now either.
It's not. It's an incredibly confusing journey.
Yeah.
Especially if your loved one is over the age of 18, you really a barrier is put up right away. Both with substance misuse. To be honest with you, the protocol is a little bit different in a hospital, but with mental health. Your loved one who may be suffering, and that loved one could be a senior, could be a teenager, whatever it is, their rights define their care. So that's very difficult to understand.
And the people who need the help typically are not the ones who are going to go for the help, I don't think.
Correct.
I think probably, and I'm not an authority, but like 90% of the contact that you get is probably from the people who are either friends or family of the person who really has the problem.
And that creates another barrier to care because of the HIPAA laws.
Right.
They can say, no, my mom or dad cannot know what's happening to me, and they have to ask for the help, and they don't.
Yeah.
So as I see it, the first hurdle is, okay, we know there's a problem, now what? How do you handle it as a family member or a friend or maybe even the person? I'm sure it happens occasionally that the person who has the problem contacts. Is that true? Do the people who have the problem ever really contact you?
It is rare.
Yeah.
It is rare, and you are right. There's because part of a mental health disorder is we have to remember it's about the brain.
Right, and you're not even recognizing that there might be something.
So there's disruption.
Right.
The denial is not a good word because that's not being true to what's happening.
Yeah.
The brain is not functioning
Right.
So therefore your decision making and your clarity of thought. And we have something on Long Island, New York City, called mobile crisis. There's a mobile crisis. So we could call that in Nassau County. There are tools, and on our website, NAMIQN.org, on the crisis page, not only do we list, I wrote out, call the emergency room first, talk to this person, told this, email them your records, put a lot of more detail, as Lee knows, I'm big on details, that a lot of detail so that people just don't think you don't just show up or you don't just call, you don't do this. You need all those records. You need to get your loved one admitted. So you need a lot of information and to combat HIPAA really in the bigger picture.
It's kind of like, as they know, I preach, if you go to the doctor honestly and tell the doctor what's going on. And it's kind of like the same, I think, with this is if you don't tell people what's really going on, it's very hard to help somebody.
It's impossible. Yeah. Lee, why don't you talk about family to family, like the journal that we ask people to keep and things like that, to repair
how do you, as the family member or friend, what's the best route you can take to try to help somebody who has a mental health problem?
What we do in family to family is start by recognizing that having a family member or a loved one with a mental health condition puts you in a very lonely place we weren't taught how to deal with our feelings around these things, and we weren't given enough information about the challenges of a mental health condition and the varieties of mental health conditions that affect our loved ones. And so we're alone. We can't speak to anyone who doesn't understand, and we feel isolated, and we get depressed, and we don't take care of ourselves because we're so stressed. So we start out with self-care. We feel that self-care is going to make it possible for us to have the frame of mind to help our loved one, and it models behavior for our loved one. So if we know that our loved one gave up music or dance or art because they're depressed or because they are experiencing fear and anxiety of a level that they can't cope with, by giving them back their music, dance, and art, by modeling fun and relaxation and taking care of their health, we give them an opportunity to incorporate back into their family first, and then model how to get into socialization with Unites, which came directly from my son's mental health experience of isolation and loneliness. He took a class called Peer-to-Peer, which we now teach. He started teaching it for our
that's awesome.
affiliate. And he came home from the first class and he said, "Mom, we're all lonely. We're all in our rooms. Please tell the board that we need to come out of our rooms." And we developed Unites as a result, and it's been amazing, just helping people get over their loneliness, forge new friendships, alliances, networks. It's been wonderful. It's just, I'm so proud of that. That I think of all the things we've done, besides teaching family to family, which I adore, I think that's our greatest achievement.
Is loneliness one of the major contributors to a lot of these problems?
It's one of the major results. It may
it's a
be
result.
one of the contributors, but it is a major result.
Right.
And my feeling is that if we can teach toddlers what it is to be alone, what it is to not want to be alone, to identify their feelings, and to care for others, I believe that every child who gets a Band-Aid put on should then put a Band-Aid on their caregiver for mutual self-care and caring for others. It's lovely of us to care about people who are lonely and isolated, but the learning has to come much sooner.
You know, we could talk about the education system, but to me, who's not in the education system, it sounds like we ought to be having some mental health classes early on in life, and frankly, a lot of other practical classes.
We do that.
We do that.
We do that.
We're
We
in
go into
schools.
schools, and I would love to see us go in sooner.
I mean, and just truly have a class
Yes,
that somebody
absolutely.
attends.
It's definitely, I could say, you know, and I've mentioned this on the show before, you know, I have a lot of little ones in my life, my friends' children, my nieces and nephews, and they, you know, are more aware of it. You know, I think about when I was a child, nobody was using mental health as, you know, the word. And I think that also came out, you know, we say this all the time here, is, you know, after COVID, mental health really became kind of like people were realizing the severity and how it could impact you, you know, and how it was really on par with physical, you know, kind of health. And I do hear the little ones, you know, will use, you know, terms and are more aware. You know, self-care is something, you know, they'll have like little moments to do like a little like yoga, and it's like, it's very interesting. So I'm hoping that is going to kind of start being ingrained and the new wave of things, because I think that really, as you're saying, would make a humongous difference.
Well, we went to the movies the other day and saw Toy Story 5.
Oh,
all right?
it's on my list. It's actually on my list of
Mine
things I'd
too.
like to see.
And there was a big message in there. It was a very up-to-date kind of thing. It was like one kid was playing with a doll and the other one was playing with a tablet. And the interaction that went on between friends, little kids in the show, you know, cartoon. But there was a lot to be said for toys, and we're now going back before the senior stage, of course, but it starts early.
Yeah.
And toys were like, nah, you're a bad person if you play with toys. You got to play with your tablet.
Yeah.
And that, to me, that sent a lot of message,
Yeah.
really. And the kid who was trying to play with the doll was being picked on by the other kids who were big, tablet people. And it was like, and then the kid with the
Bullying,
dolls
yeah.
finally found another friend who wanted to play with the dolls.
Wow.
But I thought it really told a pretty deep
Yeah.
story for a kid's movie, if you will.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, we have Ending the Silence, which we've been doing in high schools for many years. Definitely in Nassau County and Queens. And then finally, NAMI now has a program called FLAIR, Flexible Learning something, whatever. So it's an entire curriculum targeted towards middle schoolers. And there are some elementary school programs,
The Creative Minds.
Creative Minds High School, but the concepts around that are all health and wellness, coping
Right,
skills and
yeah.
the things that we're talking about, whereas FLAIR gets a little deeper, trying to educate people on the difference between sadness and depression, but
Right.
really understanding the mechanics of that and that it's not their fault because there is, the genetic factor, the life factor. You're born as to who you
Right.
are, and coping skills can only get you so far. And understanding when you really need to ask for help and articulate it. And here are some words on how to articulate, and here's an explanation of mental health concerns for a middle schooler. So that's what we're changing now. In New York State, it is required in curriculum to have a health and wellness curriculum, but it's I have to say, it's a very low bar, so we're trying to step that up and put more words and greater degree of understanding of exactly what that means. Because like what you said before, asking, isolation is a symptom, right? It's something, or an occurrence, but if you have social anxiety, you are going to choose to
Yeah,
isolate.
right. It's like this
You're right.
cyclical kind of thing.
Exactly.
But we're going to need to take a quick break. And after the break, we will continue talking with Liz Hildebrandt, Executive Director of NAMIQN Nassau, and Lee Israel, Second VP and NAMI Board Member, all about confronting loneliness and isolation and all of their wonderful services. You're listening to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio.
So I get this call from my grandma, and she's like,
What's a podcast and how much does it cost?
so I tell her, podcasts are like radio shows, but you can download them on any device and listen to them anywhere at any time, and they're free. And then she says,
I see, but where can you find good ones?
and I'm like, go to wcwp.org/podcast and check out the lineup of original shows, or download any podcast app on your phone or tablet and search for LIU Studios. And she's all like,
Oh, that sounds easy.
and then she asked me what an app is.
LIU Studios podcasts, available on any podcast app. Those little button things on your phone screen. Just ask your grandkids.
Welcome back to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio. I'm your host, Kristina Liu, along with my co-host, Otto Los, and we're diving right back in with Liz Hildebrandt, who's the Executive Director of NAMIQN Nassau, and Lee Israel, who's the Second VP and Board Member, and we're talking about confronting loneliness, isolation, and all of their wonderful services that help you do so. So let's jump right back in. Before the break, we were talking about support groups, and I would just like to know if you could just give us like a little overview of like the different types of support groups in general.
Would you like to?
Oh, sure. Okay. We have a full range of support groups going on at various times. Most of them now are virtual. Very few are in person. I'd love to get more back to the in person. Mine is virtual. It's a family support group that has evolved into caring for caregivers, especially senior caregivers. But as I alluded to before, to become a senior caregiver, you need to learn how to be a caregiver before you're a senior. So we concentrate on every age group, and we start that in family to family, and then encourage our members to join a support group for continued support. We have a sibling support group. We have co-occurring disorder support group, which is really important because so many people with mental health challenges also have addictive problems or health problems. And that complicates the issue of giving care and supporting our loved ones. What else do we have in support groups?
I just wanted to interact and say that all of our leaders are trained, and that's something that our leaders are peers, so we all have experience caring for somebody with a mental health disorder, or you are somebody with a mental health disorder leading it. So we lead with lived experience. Our co-occurring group, we do have a master social worker hosting that one, leading that one, because co-occurring, you have complex concerns. And so that is important. And that one is hybrid now, though people mostly choose to go in person for that one. And then probably because of Unites and peer-to-peer.
The peer support groups.
We have equal number of peer support groups now, those with a mental health disorder, as we do caregiver. For the last 40 years, it was primarily caregiver focused. But because of the change in society, which people are more comfortable talking about things and participating in these groups. Are we on the way to holistically changing the world? Of course not. There's still stigma. But more and more people are participating, which is an amazing thing. And so I would say we're 50-50 at this point.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely 50-50. So peer support groups.
Is there still a stigma, like, the difference between somebody who's a teenager and an older person? Your view of mental health, like in my world, it was like a sign of weakness if you had to get help. Going way back, all right? I think hopefully that's changed a lot. But does the younger world feel the same way still, or are they better at...
The younger world has had their eyes open. I go on buses and subways, not so much during COVID, but since COVID, I hear kids talking about their therapists. I can't play ball after school. I have my therapist appointment. You never heard that from kids before, even though kids have seen therapists through the years.
Right. They just weren't verbalizing
Now
it.
they have therapists.
So they're much more open.
Open to it, much more accepting of it. I don't think it's bullied as much as it used to be. I think it's recognized that this is something we need, we deserve, and we're going to use it to live our best lives.
Yeah, I'll be frank with you. Like they know my situation. My wife and I got married. She had 3 kids. I had 3 kids, and we needed help. We didn't really know what we were getting into. All of a sudden you're raising 6 kids under 10. And you realize you really need some support here.
And I'm sure during the teenage years you really needed some support.
I think it's just professional help and somebody who might listen and try to guide you down the right path. And unfortunately, a lot of people who are older still have that, but that's never going to change.
It's hard to change people.
Well, once it is, it is,
There's another challenge for people who are getting older, which really brought me to this concentration on loneliness and isolation, and that's health, physical health, and how older people are affected and not necessarily able to care for their health because of finances, lack of clinicians in their area, whatever, and a lack of understanding in the general population of the specific challenges of aging to our health. And I've been concentrating on that a lot, and I had to advocate for my mother in her rehab and in her nursing home,
which is a skill in itself. That's
she died recently. She was 103. She was my hero, Holocaust survivor, brilliant woman. And in her last UTI, urinary tract infection, it took a week to get her the medication she needed. And some of her symptoms were psychotic.
Yeah. Oh,
it took a week to get this woman medication, and she's not alone.
That is an extremely, especially working. Listen,
well, I can.
It's so common.
I'll rattle off a list of what I have witnessed in terms of when you do get older. Sometimes hearing is a problem, mobility is a problem, macular degeneration. People can't see, they can't read, they can't watch television. Loss of friends. All of a sudden, you look around and you had 100 friends, and now you got one friend, maybe. You know, and this is.
You have covered all my bases.
Well, life has experience. And, you know, all of these things come into play. There's no doubt about it. So there's no magic wand. You know,
Yeah, well, you know, it's we've talked to us off air. It's coping with loss, the broad term of loss. You know, not just losing a person, but it's losing all those things that you described,
it's
right?
connection to your past.
And it's you're right, and when you start losing things like, you know, your hearing's not as good. I know with my grandfather, it was so isolating.
Yeah.
You know, because you can't hear. You're sitting at these events, and you're not able to really participate because you don't, you know, there's so much going on that you're not able to, you know, we talk about that all the time, right? It's so loud, the noise, and you can't, like, you know, and so you just kind of get stuck in this, you know, isolated bubble.
I wear hearing aids. It requires work.
Yeah.
You know, and hearing aids are not perfect. So you need to have, hopefully, friends, family who understand, who can kind of, understand that you have a hearing problem. We'll try to talk. You know, we won't all talk at the same time, the four of us here, you know. We'll try to talk one at a time.
The key
which
word.
is very rare nowadays. You know, so there's a lot of things that people can do for the person who has the problem if they get it. You know, if they understand you have, you know, mobility problem. You know, you can't go from here to there. That's a problem. You know?
But I think that's why these support groups are so huge, and this is why, you know, I believe too, especially when you have these peer situations, because, you know, I think about even like, you know, just at all ages you're dealing with different, you know, you're caring for, you know, whether it's children or your, you know, your parents, you know, it's like a new world for you, you know, and I think about that a lot, you know, because, you know, my parents have, you know, they're aging, and, you know, there's different like medical things that are going on. So it's and you're like kind of navigating like what just happened. Like now I have to figure out like I'm in this new kind of role, you know. So it's that as the caregiver, I think is so huge. You know, that you focus on giving them kind of the tools to do these things and to talk to other people who are, you know, going through them as well, because it is, you know, it's everyone's first time trying to navigate, you know, these situations. So I think it's getting all the support that you can that is so important.
Well, I mean,
really.
with loss, there are couples, and I'm not knocking this. I'm just saying that they did and do everything together. Basically, that's their life was each other, and then all of a sudden one of them's not here anymore. And now, all of a sudden, that other person really didn't have a self-life, if you will, along the way.
Yeah.
And that's another hurdle on the list. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about family to family is just what you were talking about. I see on the first of 8 classes, it used to be 12, then it went down to 10, now it's 8. At the first class, we have people crying because they're so alone and so hurting. And by the second class, they're calling each other and they're coming together and they're planning meetings in the future, and then we plan reunions. They form an instant network of support. That's why we encourage them to stay with us in support groups afterwards, so they keep that contact. And just helping them get rid of that initial isolation, loneliness, and the fear it creates that you cannot handle this alone. It's too much. But knowing one other person in the group or more whose families are experiencing the same challenges gives them so much hope. And then eventually, hopefully, some love too.
Yeah, right. And then it's just like, you know, it's like the whole cycle, right? Because then they do that, and then, you know, hopefully they'll help someone else. You know, I mean, it goes such a long way.
There was a great article in yesterday's Washington Post summary for the week. It's awkward meeting new people. And it's revolved around what the terminology is not the same as what you use. Speed friending.
I love speed friending. I've never heard that one.
Well, it talks about people getting together who want to try to reach out and get a friend, like somebody they can do something with. And they talk about like men in particular have a bigger problem than women, and we see that with meetings at Project Independence. You know, there could be 50 people there.
And Otto.
Four of them are men. You know, and why is that? I don't know.
Australia has a good system for taking care of older men. They have man sheds.
Oh.
A man
A man shed, SHED.
Oh, okay.
Is
man shed.
a big room like an old cafe that the town takes over, and they set up tools, and people bring broken toasters, and they have a coffee machine going, and they sit and they play cards, and when someone comes in with a broken toaster or a broken can opener, they get to work fixing. But they have a
that's so
community
cool.
in every town of these men in their man sheds, and they're brilliant. So the men have company, and of course they have occasional dances with the women of the town.
Sign me up for this. I'm going to need to see this.
You know,
I love everything about
They
this.
talk about things like bowling leagues. Used to be a lot of bowling leagues. and
We
there's-
have a bowling league.
I bowl in
Our
a bowling.
Unites Bowl.
I bowl in a bowling league.
I used to. I haven't for a while.
Yeah, it's called the Hopefuls actually,
I love it.
but it's dwindling,
Yeah.
and we're not getting a lot of new people into the league, is what it comes down to. But this article
We ought
talked
to
about.
introduce the two
Yeah, you can
leagues.
do a little match.
I
There you
love
go.
senior-junior cooperation. I
Yeah.
love to see they respond so well to each other. That would be great.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there's a lot of that doesn't exist as much as it used to. You know, it was less complicated.
Yeah.
You know, but I think people's lives are more complicated for lots of reasons, really. But one of the points I wanted to bring up is you talked about the caregiver part of it, and I've unfortunately been and seen in all of the above. I think you have to show a selfish attitude, which somebody is going to perceive as you being selfish, but you also have to take care of yourself as a caregiver, or you're going to wind up with the need for.
That's why we handle self-care first.
Yeah.
Right.
Take care of yourself, and then you can take care of others.
See, a lot of people have a problem with that. I've witnessed people 24/7. They'll do whatever they can do, and then they wind up in trouble. So you can't
Yeah.
change people.
Yeah, but there's that journey, you know, when somebody first becomes ill, there is that fear, you know, if I leave them,
Of course.
what will happen? Will they fall? Will this happen? Will they take their life? Whatever it is, their journey is. So that has a course. That
Yeah.
has to run its course too. But so there comes self-care is still possible. It's just don't let that go on for years. It's
Yeah.
okay. It's going to happen. We are human. So it's like, so don't judge yourself for that.
Right. You could give yourself a little grace, right?
Give
I
yourself
think
a little
yeah.
grace.
Yeah.
And maybe have a glass of wine, but maybe
Yeah.
not the bottle. You know, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. Give yourself grace in all of these very stressful situations. So, which is, you know, again, our caregiver support group on the Sunday night, one of many groups, but the one Lee's been doing, we've been trying to also skew towards caregivers of seniors. And we're going to do, a friend of mine works for Bristol, and when I contacted her for help about, you know, about this segment of going into senior care and isolation and all of these ideas, she's like, well, you know, I'm a caregiver and I'm losing it.
Yeah, right.
I feel like
Yeah.
I'm ignored. I need
Yeah.
help with this. So we came up with the three-part series. The first one is the science of stress. So understanding what the vagus nerves and, you know, coping skills, things that you can do for yourselves to de-stress. So that will be one session. Another one Lee will do, which is sort of the coping skills, what we do in family to family, and porting that over to this different audience. And then resources, all these great resources
great.
we do have on Long Island. Not enough people know about them.
And that's what we always say, and that's why we're so fortunate to have this show, because we're able to showcase, you know, organizations like yourself, and it is like, you know, we're very fortunate because there are a lot of wonderful things, and I think it's just that's half the battle. It's like, where do I go? Everyone's overwhelmed. You don't even know where to start. You know? So I think that giving those tools for, you know, your toolbox, like we always love to say on the show,
Well,
is
and
just
that's
so
where
huge.
Project Independence, as an example, comes into play. Nurse and social worker will go to a home, evaluate the situation, and try to hook you up with the resources that are out there, which are many, including organizations like yours.
Yeah.
But I remember, and they know my story. My mother lived with us for 11 years back when my wife and I were both working. And I used to think back, everything was a complication. We're both working, running around. Everything you tried to do was a big deal because you didn't know where to go, what to do. Okay, your mother wants to go. You would like her to go to some kind of a place that she has something to do, and but to investigate all this from scratch is like not easy. And when you can go to places like yours too,
that help you,
where you can tell them your issue basically and get guidance is worth a lot of money, and it's free.
Well,
Absolutely.
On that note, guys, we've taken another break. After the break, we will continue talking with Liz Hildebrandt, Executive Director, NAMIQN Nassau, and Lee Israel, Second VP and NAMI Board Member, all about confronting loneliness and isolation and their wonderful services. You're listening to Project Independence and you on LIU Public Radio.
WCWP is your home for great music and great conversation. You'll find all that and more on WCWP.org. Listen live on the web, check out the lineup, subscribe to podcasts, and stay up to date on the latest station events. Get in touch with us and let us know if you like what you're hearing. And find out how you can support or get involved at the only community public radio station serving Nassau's North Shore. Plus, sign up to get a free bumper sticker. It's all online at WCWP.org.
Welcome back to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio. I'm your host, Kristina Liu, along with my co-host, Otto Los. And we're diving right back in with Liz Hildebrandt, Executive Director, NAMIQN Nassau, and Lee Israel, Second VP and Board Member. And we're giving really wonderful tips all about confronting loneliness and isolation and their wonderful services. So we've talked about a lot of the great programs you offer. How would someone get in contact with you?
Yes. So the best resource is going to NAMIQN.org, which is our website, which is really quite robust. Our contact information is on there, and if you go to our calendar of events and look through all the potential support groups, what night, because timing is everything. There's a lot of different groups, but maybe you're only available on Thursdays or something. So that kind of thing is really important, looking at the calendar of events. So the Sharing and Caring Group, as it's been called since the pandemic, which is a traditional NAMI support group model, is Sunday nights from 7:30 to 8:30. And that group is now trying to focus on, is always a caregiver focus.
Yes.
But also caregivers of seniors, are welcome. And we are going to be doing a workshop of sorts focused. The first one will probably be at the Unitarian Church, the UUC in Shelter Rock.
Yes.
John Ryan.
I know, it's made me think of, we had our previous host who had passed away, unfortunately, a few years ago, was very involved with the Unitarian Church, and such a beautiful, I actually had my grandpa's photography show there. Yeah.
Good man.
Yeah. So it had been scheduled, it had to be canceled, but we're going to reschedule that this fall, as well as other workshops at libraries, centers, wherever we can get a gig.
What like, let's say I'm like, I know I have an issue, but I really, like they heard this, but they didn't retain it. Is there like an initial...
like a main hotline number that's called, number?
Like an initial entry point, if you will, where you can tell your story and you'll steer them where you think it might be helpful.
Yes. So we do have a warm line, and that is 516-326-0797. We also have a 718 version, but it goes to the same human, 718-347-7284. And our email is office@NAMIQN.org. That's our main.
Office@NAMIQN.org.
Yes.
Now, are all the programs that you guys offer free? The one you were at Bristol, is that a free program?
Everything is free. Everything is free, yes. The only time we ask for anything is our donations at our gala and our walk, October 17th in Eisenhower Park will be our walk this year, which is really more about awareness. Yes, we do fundraising, but it is about awareness.
We've been a little hobnailed with fundraising since COVID. So we've had to face challenges like losing our office, which was very hard on me because I need central operation. I'm not that great on the computer. I'm constantly looking for things in the computer.
We've all been there, Lee, don't worry.
So that's always in the back of my mind, let's get an office. So I'm looking for an office. But we've had financial challenges, but it's our mission to serve the community at no charge, and we try to keep that.
How are you funded typically? Like, who backs you up?
Grants. So,
Grants? So
grants.
somebody has to be a good grant person.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been spending a lot of time writing
She's like, yes, and that would be me.
I'm the best web creator. I am
That's
so
what I
proud
did.
of our web.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's
it's
a
a
big
great- it's a
serious
great
thing,
site.
He's
being able
wonderful.
to
You're
do
sweet.
Wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, everybody, I was creative and content, graphic design, marketing person until about 13
Yeah, I
years ago.
saw you were graphical.
Yeah, exactly. And I still do marketing for a handful of clients. But 14 years ago now, I think, when one of my children became sick, I was like, what is this scary, dark world? Why don't I understand what's going on here? And why don't I know who to call?
See, and I think that's so special, and I'm glad you kind of segued into that, because we're always intrigued on the show how people kind of get into the career that they're doing, right? And, especially when it's an extremely heavy, difficult one, that unfortunately is not well funded. So you guys are kind of like boots on the ground, and I think that that's just so important, and that's how we, you can tell that you guys are invested in what you're doing, and that's like the most special part about interviewing, organizations like yourself.
I was marketing and sales all my life, and you can have the greatest organization in the world, but if people don't know about it, okay, you got a great organization. Now what? So.
And you got into it because of your
because of that. One of the first meetings that I went to at Zucker Hillside Hospital, I'm like, what is that poster of those scary looking people? What are they doing? I don't want to go to that meeting. So I was just really bent on our website is a tremendous resource.
It is.
Yeah, I've been on there, and there is a lot of information.
A lot of content, a lot of for serious mental illness for sure, but it's hard to find information that doesn't frighten you. So that's the precipitous. Like, I'm trying to make it so it's accessible information.
It's getting more complicated now with AI.
Yeah, but that's okay. Like, I embrace AI, to be honest with you, because because I have to.
I use it all the time.
I use it all the time because it helps me to write better.
Yeah, of course. Yes, listen, we've all been there. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Certainly.
But using it to design a piece of stained glass right now. I mean, it's really endless.
Yes, we say to use it as a tool. That's what our
well,
thing
where
says.
I'm going with that though is when you do searches now, you may not wind up at NAMI's website. You're going to wind up with
a mirror.
Yeah, and. So it's important to still go to specific websites to get specific information.
You're right.
About
and I don't want people talking to AI for mental health support. That is a zero. That's just
it's one of the negatives.
And it's something that's certainly growing. I even know personally, I know people, that it's become kind of a therapeutic tool.
It's like talking to a person, but you have to understand it is not a person.
It is not a person, and you can't verify all that advice. And since when is so? What NAMI also on national level has embraced this, sort of a partnership, not with Broad Institute, just Harvard in general, is trying to create a barometer of how we judge some of these support sites. So that is something that NAMI National is actively working on.
Yeah, that's great.
It is. But how do we keep up
it's
with
fast,
it all?
Right, exactly.
We have to keep up with it all. And so yes, call our warm line. Rachel picks up the phone, and
I get to return some of the calls.
Exactly. Yeah, I think each one of us in our group in NAMI have our own personal life experience.
Yeah, but I think that's why it's so beautiful, and I think it takes away some of the fear, because as we're saying, it's scary, right? You're saying these posters and like you're seeing all these things, like what is this world? And a lot of times you might be hesitant to go speak to, a clinician or something because you're like, they don't get like what I'm going through. They're just gonna like tell me something. But when you're with someone, that I'm such an advocate of peer-on-peer services and all different things, and it's really taking by storm in the addiction world,
Yes.
or these peer services, because I do think
That's a whole. I mean, we
but
could
having
talk for a
someone
day and a
relate
half
to
about
you,
that.
and know that you have experience firsthand. It's not just your job, and I think that's such an important thing. And when you both have mentioned your stories, I think that's
Addiction can hit
special,
older
yeah.
people as well.
Yeah,
and that
of
could
course.
be
Definitely.
alcohol, drugs, gambling is a new one.
Yes.
Not new, but it's much heavier now.
Well, it's so accessible now.
Yeah,
You
it's
can
so
just
easy.
gamble
Right.
on your phone.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we can't forget to mention 988. So 988 is an evolving opportunity. Is it perfect right now? No. But it's evolving, and we have to remember to keep, spread the good word on 988. Sometimes people call NAMI and think we're a 988 operator. We're like, no, but we are happy to help you through this process. But that's also very important for people to understand.
I
That's a
think
mental health hotline.
reaching out part of it by the family, friend, caregiver, whoever, is very important. And that's a hard thing to get people to do. People, A, tend to procrastinate. B, there's a discomfort. You're not comfortable reaching out about somebody else's issues.
Yeah.
And you have to try to get past that, I think, in order to help somebody.
People are often afraid.
Yeah.
And I think this is something really important to understand, that most of the time, a person who's suffering with a mental health disorder, whether it's temporary, genetic, whatever, they are more a danger to themselves and not to you. Somebody called me recently and said, my neighbor is acting very strange. I'm afraid of this person. I'm like, honestly, just relax. Let's talk about what are they doing, what's going on with them. Is there a husband? Is there a wife? Is there a child? What's going on? People are reluctant to call the police, and that's a whole conversation. There is, as I said, mobile crisis, or Rachel, you'll talk to somebody for an hour.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm sorry, but you just said something, and you had mentioned it earlier about like a log. It's almost like a log. Like if you do see something, you should start to capture what you see, so you can tell somebody.
Our Michigan person, Sue Maida, suggested at a recent session that every person caring for anyone, health or mental health issues, have a one-page summary of everything they have observed and done, hopefully one-page single space, so that when the police come or they go to a new clinician, they can hand it over and all the bullet points are there. And of course, speaking to police who are coming to your home, they need to be warned that they're coming into a person who is safe, that they have a mental health condition and they are not looking to hurt anybody. So we teach that in our communication sections, which are one of our most valuable sections in Family to Family, and we go over them in the support groups all the time. I get to mention our communication techniques in almost every warm call that I receive or make. So we try to support people that way too.
Yeah, I mean, that's invaluable. And, we're always, Otto is the bullet king over here. So anything he does, he goes quite prepared. But I think that that's important, right? As we said, going to, a regular medical doctor, we'll for lack of a better word, you go in with the information, so why would you not do something, in a mental health, component of
Our
things
partner at Sucker Hillside Hospital developed a notebook that they give to new families coming into the hospital, where they can keep track of every doctor's visit, make copies, keep everything together, so that when their loved one is hospitalized,
you just have
they
that
bring
right
the
in.
notebook, and the doctor has everything at their.
And
I
their
got-
complete resource guide, they sent that to us, and I've got it posted on our website.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, the notebook idea is a good one.
It's brilliant.
I do it, frankly, like on a calendar. And if you have a doctor's appointment now, or my wife who has some issues, you record what went on, and then you duplicate that and put it into the next appointment. So you now have a history of everything that took
You know, Otto, in
place.
social work school when I was in there, that's the progress notes. So you're actually like, you're doing some progress notes going on, you know.
And
Well,
as a
that's-
teacher, it was
Yeah.
anecdotal.
Well, basically,
Yeah, there you go.
it does become that.
Yeah.
You know.
Plus, you can search it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My son said to me one day, "Mom, when did we go to whatever doctor?" I'm like, "I don't know."
Yep.
And
it's
then
so
it
true.
was right in front of me.
Yes. It's
Well,
so
With the
so
notes
true,
you
yeah.
said, exactly the date, and probably the doctor's name is spelled, but we figured
Yeah,
it
that's
out.
right. Yeah, you got.
Everybody ought to have one of these
Oh, yeah.
with the medications and everything else that goes
I just
on.
took that to Alaska with me.
Yeah.
Well, you don't know where you're going to get sick.
Exactly.
you know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So back to like the sandwich generation. So 13 years ago, when my loved one got sick, I was caring for the 4 seniors in our family. Right. My husband and I chose to only move a mile from where we grew up in Syosset, so we were very close. So I had a pager for every one of the seniors in our lives.
Yeah.
You know, everything that had happened. Yes, some of them they were double-sided, you know, but and I was like, all right, let's just make copies, because it became this thing where I would walk in with one copy. I'm like, what was I thinking? Just give it to them, you know? And so that became the protocol.
Well-
walk in, hand it to them, it's yours.
No,
you
no,
know?
And being the sandwich generation, which I also was, now I'm going to become the sandwich, like, you know, the meat in the sandwich. But the good thing, I think, is that I learned from being in the sandwich generation as to what I should try to do for those who are around me. Fortunately, I have good daughters who, what can I do to make them their life a little easier as far as being the sandwich part of it.
Yes.
And, you know, I think that as you go through life, you talked about the younger kids earlier, are learning early. I think this kind of thing shouldn't be learned too late either. It should be learned as you're going through life.
Good point.
You know?
No, and I think, you know, you guys keep bringing it up throughout the interview too. You know, so much of this and how people react and feel and all, you know, is fear-based and the anxiety and stress of it, you know, and those are real feelings. I mean, we all, you know, to different degrees have to deal with these things. And I think when you're able to take kind of, you know, ownership and advocate for yourself, you know, and have this, you know, just this one sheet of like history, I mean, takes out so much stress. You know, I've been in doctor's appointments with my mom, my grandparents, I mean, throughout the years, you know, and you're doing that to be able to recap, because I've seen that, like, I can't remember, when did this happen, you know, when did I have that test, you know, what was I feeling then, you know, and it's I think it eliminates, you know, where we can, you know, take away some of the fear and anxiety and stress of things, I think
You get
is
better
so
care,
important.
too,
Yeah,
because
right,
they know what
exactly,
they're
more
dealing
efficient,
with.
right, exactly, more like efficient care. It's very, very true. But I think you guys are doing so many incredible things. I just want to remind everyone, if you want to get in touch on the warm line, it's 516-326-0797, and the website is NAMIQN.org. I really think, and I look forward to, in the future, having you guys do some presentations with Project Independence. I think all
Would
these things
love
would be awesome. We have a lot of
Thank you.
locations, so my wheels have been turning throughout all this. But I'd like to thank you so much, both of you, for just your service and being so vulnerable and open with everything. So thank you. I would like to thank both Liz Hildebrandt, Executive Director of NAMI Queens Nassau, and Lee Israel, the second VP and NAMIQN board member, and NAMI in general. You're listening to Project Independence and You on LIU Public Radio.